Most Australians will never reach $20,000 in savings. That might sound harsh, but the numbers back it up. Australia's household savings ratio is sitting around 6.9%. At the same time, the cost of living keeps climbing, with household expenses rising anywhere between 2.3% and 4.2%, depending on where and how you live. The average Australian household reportedly has around $42,000 in savings. But that figure is misleading. A small group of people with very large balances drags the average up. Meanwhile, millions of Australians have little to nothing set aside. So if you have not reached $20,000 yet, you are not failing. You are probably far more normal than you think. But there is something important about that $20,000 mark. Because once you get there, everything starts to feel different. Not just financially, mentally, emotionally, even the way you make decisions changes. And in this video, I want to explain exactly why. Before you build up savings, most people are living in survival mode. Every paycheck is already spoken for before it arrives. Rent, groceries, power bills, insurance, fuel, maybe a car loan. There is always something. You're constantly moving money around, checking balances, and working out what can wait until next week. That kind of pressure is exhausting, and it does more than just stress you out. Research in behavioral economics shows that financial stress reduces your ability to think clearly. When you are constantly focused on immediate problems, your brain has less room for long-term thinking. You are not making worse decisions because you are bad with money. You are making worse decisions because your mind is overloaded. That is why people with low savings often feel trapped. They are stuck thinking about today's bills instead of tomorrow's opportunities. When you have less than $5,000 saved, every unexpected expense feels like a crisis. A car repair, a dental bill, a higher electricity bill, even small problems suddenly feel massive. And dealing with those constant little emergencies drains you. It takes energy away from the bigger things you could be working towards. This is why $20,000 matters. Not because it instantly makes you rich, but because it creates a buffer, a layer of protection between you and disaster. If your fridge breaks, you can replace it. If your car needs repairs, you can pay for them. If you lose your job, you have a few months to work things out without panicking. That breathing room changes everything. You stop making decisions out of fear. You stop feeling like one bad week could ruin you. And once that pressure comes off, other things improve too. You sleep better. You think more clearly. You perform better at work. You stop fighting with your partner about money. You stop putting off important things, like going to the doctor or dentist. It creates a positive cycle. Less stress leads to better decisions. Better decisions lead to more savings. And more savings create even less stress. Once you have some money behind you, your mindset starts to change. You begin thinking about the future instead of only trying to survive the present. You start noticing opportunities you would have ignored before. Maybe it is a course that could increase your income. Maybe it is a side business. Maybe it is finally starting to invest. When your brain is not overwhelmed by financial stress, you have more room to think strategically. That shift in thinking is one of the biggest reasons why $20,000 matters so much. There is also a practical side to this. At $20,000, compound interest starts becoming noticeable. If you only have $2,000 saved and it is earning 5%, that is just $100 a year. You barely notice it, but $20,000 earning 5% gives you around $1,000 a year in interest. Now your money is actually doing something meaningful. You are earning money without having to work extra hours for it. That is when people begin to understand how powerful investing and compounding can be. Because once your money starts growing on its own, it feels less like you are doing all the work yourself. There is another thing that changes when you save $20,000. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is bad with money. You start seeing yourself as someone who can actually build wealth. You prove to yourself that you can save. You can delay gratification. You can turn small habits into something meaningful. And that changes the way you spend. When people have no savings, spending is often emotional. They buy things to feel better. They spend money because they are stressed. But once you have a financial cushion, you stop buying random things just for a quick hit of dopamine. You stop wasting money on subscriptions you do not use, impulse purchases, takeaway meals you barely enjoyed. You become more intentional. And intentional spending is one of the biggest differences between people who build wealth and people who do not. So what does $20,000 actually allow you to do? First, it opens the door to investing. With that amount, you can start putting money into ETFs or index funds. Over the past 3 years, broad Australian ETFs have averaged returns of around 10% to 14% a year. That is far more powerful than leaving your money sitting in a bank account. Second, it gives you leverage. When you are not desperate for money, you can negotiate harder. You can ask for a raise. You can walk away from a bad job. You can take a risk on a side hustle or a new opportunity because you know you have something to fall back on. Third, it breaks the cycle. A lot of people live in the same pattern for years. Money comes in, money goes out, nothing changes, then the next paycheck arrives and the whole cycle repeats. Saving $20,000 is often the first time people break out of that loop. And once they do, building wealth becomes much easier. If you are not there yet, focus on 3 things. First, track your spending. Go through every dollar you spend over the next 30 days. Most people discover they are wasting at least $300 to $500 a month without realizing it. Second, automate your savings. Set up an automatic transfer the day you get paid. Move the money before you have a chance to spend it. Pay yourself first. Third, increase the gap. There is only so much you can cut. Eventually, you need to earn more. Ask for a raise, get a side hustle. Sell things you do not use. Every extra dollar you save speeds up the journey. The hardest part of building savings is the beginning. The stretch between $0 and $20,000 feels painfully slow. It can feel like nothing is changing, like the effort is not worth it, but it is. Every small deposit matters. Every week you stay consistent, you get closer. The hardest part is staying in the game long enough to let the process work, because once you reach $20,000, everything starts to change. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.